So let's talk about deploying wireless LANs. We have to think about the name of a wireless LAN. The name of the wireless LAN, typically broadcasted, that's the term for the announcing of the name by the access points that are providing connectivity to that wireless LAN. So a really good way to think about it is every single wireless LAN gets its own SSID. This is the name. It's a case-sensitive name. Once upon a time when you had to manually plug in the name, I kept on typoing the name because I didn't realize that it was case-sensitive, but it is case-sensitive. And it can be frustrating when you don't realize that there's case sensitivity to something. Now, one thing that we're going to get into, and I want to kind of just open your eyes right now, is can you have multiple access points in the same SSID? Can you have multiple access points in the same SSID? I expect there to be some uncertainty. I love that answer from Ben. Yes? Yes. Absolutely. And we're going to show you how to do it. That's really what this exam is about, is the deployment of a single wireless LAN, and that deploys a single subnet. So each SSID would be a different subnet. That would be the typical, okay? But you can have multiple access points inside of it. So we're going to get into that. But before we do that, we're going to get into this thing that's super annoying. It is on the exam, and it is ad hoc mode. If any of you have used this, great. Tell us how. This is one of those things where I can tell you at least one good horror story that I've gotten over the years as an instructor. Okay. So ad hoc mode is when we are trying to share files between two laptops. Let's say we're like, I gotta get my PowerPoint file from one laptop to another. Now, what are we normally gonna do? We're gonna email it. Or maybe we got it on a USB drive. We'll do that too. Or maybe we're gonna put it in SharePoint or whatever. Or send it via Teams. But if we wanted to, we could theoretically use ad hoc mode to share files. This takes the network out of the equation. This is a peer-to-peer file sharing capability of Wi-Fi that shouldn't exist. My experience, it's not really my experience. I've had students years ago, they were like, yeah, my students at school use this to share files between their laptop and the classroom. It's like, ooh, that's bad, because we want to be able to control what happens on anything that's in our environment. So you lose control, that's not good. We don't even have to be control freaks. We just don't want, you know, high schoolers being able to share notes via ad hoc mode. I don't think that's a good idea. So here's where we... There's no pro to that there's no, Jasmine's saying, why would anybody do this? This is like the IEEE 802.11, the IEEE designs these. They're like, we think this might be a good idea, so we're going to support it. But nobody uses it for good. It is not a thing that is used for good. Basic service set. Basic service set means that you have one access point for wireless LAN. Now, I asked you a question. Can you have multiple access points can you have multiple access points in the same wireless LAN? The answer was yes. But you're not running in this mode if you are. Basic service set is essentially what you would do if you gave every single access points that you deployed a different unique wireless LAN, a different SSID, if you will. So let's say you had 5 access points, you set up 5 SSIDs. It's actually normally not how you do it, as in people will go, you did it wrong. Okay, maybe you did. But if there's a one-to-one association of SSID to access point, you're running in basic service set, which builds what is called a basic service area. It's just the name of the topology that you're deploying. But it's a very kind of limited setup. People cannot move. If there were like 5 access points deployed like this, or in this case 2, you would not be able to facilitate what we would consider roaming. Now, roaming is a big deal in the examination. Let me design or show you what roaming would be. We've got laptops, which means they're mobile, right? People can move if they got a laptop, and they're going to be moving into conference rooms and things like that. You're going to carry their laptop. They're going to go into a Zoom room. So what would happen if this user in this setup goes in proximity away from the access point that they connected up to here? What would happen in that scenario? They take their laptop, they move pretty far away, they no longer have signal to access point 1. What would happen? I want to see. I want you guys to really get this. It's a pretty important bit for exam. Okay. So Eric said you'd need to change the SSID, otherwise it would drop. Ben says, yeah, okay. Let's say we had never wandered in that part of the building before. Okay? We'd never wandered in that part of the building before. You essentially drop. You have to manually, or you'd have to join the different SSID. Okay? So there is no automatic handoff in this setup. Okay? This is why you don't run this way. There is not automatic roaming. Basic service set does not support roaming because it's a totally different SSID. And if this were SSID AP1, you'd need to have it already pre-programmed in, have been there before, and it's disruptive because you would drop to a different subnet. Okay, this is not an enterprise practice. Okay, what is the enterprise practice is to roll what is called extended service set. This gives you everything that you want. These access points would deploy the same SSID. Okay, they would match in terms of the SSID, and you would be able to roam. And as you moved, you would reassociate to the access point upon your signal being inferior, very inferior. So you kind of have to, the way that I think about it is there's kind of like a rubber band effect. So we kind of stick towards our home access point until it's stretched to the breaking point and we see a different access point. Okay, so there's a little bit of a stickiness that you're going to have to understand for the examination as well. But in this case, you can roam and everybody's going to be happy. This is what people expect. People expect to be able to roam, to be able to walk in the facility, and not have to reconnect all over the place. I was in a meeting for 30 minutes, now I gotta go back to my desk and reconnect to a different SSID. Okay, so that's roaming, supported by what is called Extended Service Set, ESS. So BSS does not support roaming because you're in different SSIDs. Extended Service Set, you do support roaming.